The sentence that burned my life down didn't sound cruel when my mother said it. It sounded certain. "You'll come back once reality hits," Sharon Harper said, folding her arms like the matter was already settled. I was 17. I stood in our kitchen with an acceptance letter shaking in my hand, the edges already soft from how tightly I'd been gripping it. I had practiced this moment in my head 100 times. I had imagined relief, pride, maybe even a smile. Instead, my father didn't even look at the letter. "Art is a hobby," David Harper said calmly. "Medicine is a future." That was the hook. That was the moment everything split. This story is an original creation by the writing team of the Revenge Pulse channel, inspired by the hidden corners of family life, and told with the purpose of fostering emotional connection and spreading understanding. I got in early. I said, my voice thinner than I wanted it to be. "It's a state institute. Public. They don't do that unless they see something." My mother laughed, sharp and embarrassed. "They see tuition payments. Not a life." My father finally met my eyes. "We already discussed your plan. Pre-med, applications are ready." I never agreed. I said, "You live under our roof," he replied. "That makes it an agreement." The air between us tightened. I could feel my pulse in my ears. "So this is it," I said. "You decide who I get to be." My mother leaned forward, her voice dropping into that tone she used in public, the one that sounded loving to strangers. "We are protecting you from ruining your life. If I stay," I said, "I disappear." Silence. My father stood up and walked to the front door. He opened it, slow and deliberate, like he was proving a point. "Pack your things," he said. "No money, no calls. If you walk out, you're choosing that." I looked at my mother. She didn't stop him. She just watched me, her mouth pressed into a thin line. "You'll be back," she said again, "once you understand how the world works." I went to my room. I packed one backpack, clothes, my sketchbook, the acceptance letter, folded small enough to fit into my pocket. When I stepped past my father, he didn't move. The door closed behind me with a final sound that echoed down the street. I walked until my hands went numb. I didn't cry. Not yet. If you're listening to this somewhere quiet or somewhere you had to escape to feel safe, stay with me. Drop a comment later. Tell me where you're hearing this from. I didn't know it then, but that night would follow me for 12 years. And I would not be the one begging at the end. I slept on a friend's couch that night, but my mind never stopped replaying the kitchen, my father's voice, my mother's certainty. By morning, I had not slept at all. I went back the next day because part of me still believed there had been a misunderstanding. My father was already dressed for work. My mother stood at the counter, scrolling through her phone as if nothing had happened. "You forgot your toothbrush," she said without looking up. "And your winter coat." I didn't forget. I said, "I left." My father exhaled slowly. "We didn't say you couldn't come back. You opened the door." I replied. That sounded final. He adjusted his watch. "Final doesn't have to be permanent. Not if you make the right decision." My mother finally met my eyes. "This doesn't have to be dramatic. Lena, plenty of kids think they want something at your age." "I'm not thinking," I said. "I already chose. Art is not a choice." My father said, "It's a phase. It's the only thing I'm good at." "That's not true." My mother snapped, "You're smart. You test well. You could be a doctor. We raised you for more than smearing paint." "I didn't ask to be raised for anything," I said. "I asked to be seen." My father stepped closer. "We are offering you a future. Tuition, housing, stability. You walk away from that, and you walk away from us." The words landed heavy, not shouted, not emotional, delivered like terms in a contract. "So this is conditional," I said. "Everything is conditional." He replied, That's reality. My mother reached for my hand, then stopped herself. If you come back today, we'll forget this happened. We'll help you apply for pre-med programs. You'll thank us later. I pulled my hand back. If I come back, I'll spend my life pretending I don't exist. Silence stretched again. My father checked the time. Then you've made your decision, he said. We're done funding mistakes. I nodded. My chest burned, but my voice stayed steady. Then stop calling it love. I walked out before either of them could answer. This time, I didn't look back. The first place I stayed charged nothing and asked for nothing. A friend's couch, 2 nights, then a third, when her roommate started sighing every time I came home late. By the end of the week, I understood the rule without anyone saying it out loud. I found a shared room near campus. The landlord didn't ask many questions. I didn't offer answers. The job came next. A warehouse on the edge of town. Night shifts stacking and sorting until my arms shook. The supervisor looked at my paperwork, looked at my age, then shrugged. You show up on time. You keep the spot. I showed up early. Art school didn't feel safe. It felt possible. That was the difference. No one asked who paid my tuition or what my parents thought. They asked what I was working on. In foundations class, I turned in a charcoal study. 2 figures, their faces left blank, standing in a doorway. The paper was torn down the middle, stitched back together with harsh lines. A guy with paint permanently under his nails leaned over my desk. That's not practice work, he said. I didn't look up. It's what came out. He nodded once. There's anger in it. Not loud. Controlled. His name was Owen. He didn't say he liked it. He didn't say it was good. He said, "Don't sand that down." At night, I worked until my hands cramped. During the day, I painted until my head buzzed. I learned how hunger changes your sense of time, how exhaustion sharpens memory instead of dulling it. My phone stayed silent. No calls, no messages. It felt intentional. One afternoon, a professor stopped behind my easel. She studied the canvas longer than was polite. "You're not illustrating feelings," she said. "You're documenting a pattern." I swallowed. "Is that a problem?" "It depends," she replied. "Do you plan to keep telling the truth when it gets uncomfortable?" I thought of my mother's certainty, my father's calm, the door closing. "Yes," I said. She nodded. "Then keep going." That night, alone in my room, I opened my sketchbook and started a series. Doors, hands, paper tearing and being taped back together. I didn't name it yet. I just knew I was done asking for permission to exist. The email arrived while I was in the studio, hands streaked with charcoal. Status update financial aid file. I wiped my fingers on my jeans and opened it. Your aid has been marked withdrawn due to Guardian notification. It read, "Please contact the office." I stared at the screen until the words blurred. At the financial aid counter, the woman behind the desk kept her voice gentle, the way people do when they think you might break. "I didn't withdraw anything," I said. "I didn't even know that was possible." She turned her monitor slightly. We received an email from a listed Guardian account. It stated you were no longer pursuing this program due to concerns about stability. My throat tightened. "Stability?" She nodded. "They said you needed to come home." "I don't have a home," I said. The words surprised me with how easily they came out. She hesitated. "The account used was an older family email. It matched your file. My parents. Not even brave enough to use their own names. So they can just decide that I asked? They can request," she said carefully. "But you can contest. Change access. File a statement." I laughed once, sharp and humorless. They didn't want me to fail. They wanted me to crawl back. She slid a form across the desk. "I'm sorry." I took it, hands shaking. "They told you I was unstable." She didn't answer. She didn't need to. That night, I called my mother. It rang until voicemail. I didn't leave a message. Instead, I changed every password, locked every account. I wrote a statement that listed dates, conversations, exact phrases. I attached copies of my enrollment and work schedule. When I hit submit, my chest felt hollow and solid at the same time. They had found a way to reach into my life without touching me. They had tried to rewrite my story while I was still living it. I closed my laptop and opened my sketchbook. If they were going to speak for me, I would make sure everyone saw exactly who they were talking over. The knock came after midnight. 3 sharp taps. Official. Patient. I opened the door to 2 uniformed officers standing just far enough back to look non-threatening. Lena Harper, one of them asked. Yes. We're here to do a wellness check. The words landed harder than a shout, based on what I said. A call from your parents. The other officer replied. They're concerned you may be at risk. At the station. They sat me at a small table under bright lights. A clipboard slid toward me. Are you enrolled in school? The first officer asked. Yes, I said. Full time. Are you employed? Yes. Night shifts. Warehouse. Do you have housing? I rent a room near campus. They wrote. Nodded. Checked boxes. The second officer leaned back. Your parents said you left suddenly. That you might be unstable. I felt my jaw lock. They told me to leave. Silence. I pulled out my phone and laid it on the table. Here's my class schedule, my work hours, my lease. They reviewed everything. The room softened. The questions stopped. After a while, the first officer closed the folder. You're not a missing person. You're not at risk. We'll close the report. He hesitated, then added quietly. Some parents confuse control with care. I signed the paper acknowledging I was safe. Outside, the night air felt heavier than before. When I got back to my room, my hands shook. Not from fear, from clarity. They had escalated, not with yelling or threats, but with authority, with systems. I sat on my bed and opened a notebook I hadn't touched in weeks. On the first page, I wrote the date, the time, the names. I wrote down my mother's exact words from the kitchen, my father's tone when he opened the door, the email phrasing from the aid office. Evidence. If they wanted to define me as unstable, I would become precise. The next day, I told Owen what happened. They called the police, he said. They called control concern, I replied. He shook his head slowly. Then whatever you're making now matters. That night, I taped the first page of my notes to the wall above my desk. If they were going to use the world against me, I would learn how to speak back in a language it couldn't ignore. The exhibition opened on a Friday night in a converted warehouse in Oakland. Concrete floors, white walls, voices layered over one another like static. I stood near my work and kept my hands still. The series was called What We Owe. 3 pieces. A child offering something fragile. 2 adults tearing it apart. The child walking away, arms full of fragments. Owen leaned in beside me. You don't look surprised, he said. I stopped being surprised a while ago. A woman with a clipboard paused, read the title card, then looked back at the second piece. This is personal, she said. It's accurate. I replied. I felt it before I saw her. The air tightened. Conversations dipped. Then my mother's voice cut through the noise. What is this? Sharon Harper stood a few feet away, dressed for a room she believed she owned. Her eyes moved from the canvas to my face, sharp with recognition. You put this in public, she said. You're making us look like monsters. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't make anything. I showed it. She stepped closer. People will think I did something wrong. A gallery assistant appeared between us. Please don't touch the work. My mother's smile flickered. I'm her mother. And this is her exhibition, the assistant replied. Sharon turned back to me. You could have talked to us. I did. I said. You opened the door. Her mouth tightened. You're embarrassing me. Owen spoke then, calm and clear. "You're embarrassing yourself." A few heads turned. Someone murmured agreement. My mother looked around and realized she had an audience. Her voice softened, dangerous. "We sacrificed everything for you. You invested," I said, "and expected ownership." She laughed once. Brittle. "You think this changes anything it already has," I replied. She took a step back, scanning the room as if measuring damage. "This won't end well for you." "It already ended," I said. "You just didn't notice." She left without another word. People drifted closer after she was gone. They read. They stared. They whispered. I didn't follow her out. I stayed where I was, watching the work hold its ground. For the first time, the truth didn't belong to them. The consequences didn't arrive all at once. They came in fragments, like the pieces in my work. A week after the exhibition, my mother left a voicemail. Her voice was tight, controlled. "People at work are asking questions. You didn't have to make it so personal." I didn't call back. 2 weeks later, my father emailed. No greeting, no signature. "We've lost a client. This situation is becoming a problem." I replied with one line. "I'm not the situation." They asked to meet. We sat at a small table in a cafe near campus. My mother kept adjusting her scarf. My father didn't touch his coffee. "This has gone far enough," he said. "Your mother has been reassigned. Temporarily." My mother flinched. "They think I'm unstable," she said. Then caught herself. "They're misunderstanding. They're responding." I said. "To the truth." My father leaned forward. "We can fix this. We'll pay for the rest of your education, housing, supplies. You pull the pieces. You stop telling this story." My chest tightened. "You're asking me to erase myself. We're asking you to be practical." My mother said, "You're hurting us." "You hurt yourselves," I replied. "I just stopped covering it." My father's voice hardened. "Do you understand what this is costing us?" "Yes," I said. "That's why you're here." Silence stretched. My mother's eyes filled, but her voice stayed sharp. "After everything we gave you, you gave me conditions." I said. "I gave you silence. It didn't save me." My father exhaled through his nose. "If you keep going, there will be consequences." "There already were." I said. "For me, you just didn't care until they were yours." He looked at me then. Really looked. "You think this ends well. It ends honestly." I said. "That's not the same thing." My mother reached across the table. I didn't take her hand. "We can still help you," she said. "We can still be your family." "Family doesn't negotiate truth?" I said. "Family doesn't ask for silence as payment." I stood. My father stayed seated. My mother watched me like I was leaving again. "I'm done being the solution to your image," I said. When I walked out, I felt the weight shift. Not gone, but no longer pressing down from above. This time, the door stayed open behind me. The invitation arrived with a single line under my name, "Selected for juried exhibition." The piece took weeks. I worked until my hands ached and my vision blurred. I painted faces that looked familiar enough to hurt, cracked down the center like porcelain under pressure. Behind them, I layered places that never appeared in family photos: a courtroom bench, a hospital corridor, a house with empty windows. At the edge, I painted myself turned away, stepping toward a blank surface that hadn't been claimed yet. My father called the night before installation. "You're crossing into defamation," he said. "We're prepared to take legal action." I didn't raise my voice. "It's a painting. You know exactly who it represents." "Yes," I said. "So will everyone else." He paused. "Pull it. We'll make this right." "You tried that already," I replied. "It didn't work." The gallery director answered the follow-up email. Clear. Professional. We stand by our artist. Opening night, the room filled fast. Judges moved slowly, reading every line of text. One stopped in front of my work for a long time. "This is uncomfortable," he said finally. "Good," I replied. When they called my name, the applause came in waves. I walked to the front, my legs steady in a way they had never been at home. They handed me the certificate and the grant details. Enough to finish school. Enough to breathe. They asked me to say a few words. I took the microphone and felt the room lean in. "This work is about what happens," I said, "when love becomes conditional and the conditions fail, when silence is offered as safety, and when telling the truth costs less than pretending." I didn't look for my parents. I didn't need to. After, Owen found me near the exit. "You didn't flinch. I already did my flinching," I said. Outside, my phone buzzed once. A message from my mother. "You've made your point." I turned the screen face down. I hadn't made a point. I had drawn a line. 12 years later, my phone lit up on the edge of my work table. 73 missed calls. Same number. Same house line. I answered on the 74th ring. "Lena," my mother said. Her voice sounded smaller. "Your father is in the hospital." "I know," I said. "I've already spoken with the social worker." A pause. Then my father. Weaker than I remembered. "We need help." "I arranged help," I replied. "A payment plan? Care options?" "It goes through a foundation." "Not you," my mother asked. "Not me," I said. Silence stretched. Then she whispered, "Do you hate us?" "No," I said. "I don't belong to you anymore." When I hung up, my hands steadied. I turned back to the canvas on my wall. I added the final line to the title, Boundary. If this story found you tonight while you're working late, or sitting somewhere you chose for yourself, stay with it. Share it with someone who needs permission to draw their own line. Leave a comment when you're ready and tell me where you're listening from. I'm still here, still painting, still choosing what gets to come through the door. I set the phone face down and picked up my brush.